Conflicting reports continue to pour out of Syria as the international community demands answers. And One America News takes a look at how the truth may be different depending on where you are and who you're talking to.
The situation in Syria remains in flux, as a lack of access has resulted in uncertainty and conflicting reports as to what happened the night of the alleged chemical weapons attack in Douma.
We can't get to the site ourselves, but every day, evidence and witnesses come across this border wall with more horrific details.
Many media outlets have been unable or unwilling to enter the war-torn country of Syria, but that doesn't mean access has been non-existent, as One America News was able to get a reporter on the ground in Douma.
We're in Douma. We're walking around, we're talking to people. I understand there are accusations that some of the people that are being talked to are plants. They're people that are set up to say certain things in support of President Assad, and they're not real. So we're walking up to random people at this point, asking them questions and what they think about this situation.
Fox News was able to get as close as the Turkish-Syrian border, where buses full of the few remaining rebels in Syria have been sent to after the Assad regime took control of Douma.
Multiple sources have told us that rebels are no longer in that part of Douma. In fact, they have left. They were bussed out under a deal done by the Russians.
Reports from those fleeing Douma tell a story of the deliberate use of chemical weapons, launched by the Syrian regime against the civilian population.
One had broken the roof and was stuck. Everybody in that house and at least 2 other houses had died. The barrel was about 5 feet long, yellow and made of thick metal. Doctors said they only had room to treat those who had a chance of survival. They left the others to die.
Meanwhile, reports coming from the now regime-controlled city of Douma are telling a different story.
We've talked to 2 doctors, a general surgeon, several of the nursing staff, a number of the patients who were in the hospital that day. Not one person saw any sign of a chemical attack.
One America's foreign correspondent, Pearson Sharp, is on the ground in Syria, at that very hospital in Douma, where doctors are giving him a different account of that night.
No signs about chemical attack, because when chemical attacks, the eyes, as he said, would be closed like this and hurt. And skin, nothing. So no sign about chemical attacks. Something very important, because when others they were talking with him, I asked him if in that day any case died. He said no.
Attempts for a further investigation by the United Nations have been stalled. A UN security team came under small arms fire in Syria on Wednesday, while clearing the way for inspectors to visit the site of the suspected chemical attack, forcing them to return to Damascus.
The Syrian government says that was rebel fire, but we know that that is not true.
Going off their sources at the Turkish-Syrian border, Fox News also said the Syrian regime had found the burial site from the attack.
Now, we also know that the Syrian regime has actually found the graves of the victims from that attack. They have taken the bodies so they cannot be tested. And we also know that doctors who were treating those victims have been harassed severely. Their families have been threatened. They've been searched, some of them detained. So the Syrian government trying very hard not to let anyone in.
But Sharp was able to get in. And when he visited the location for himself, he was told a very different story than the one being told to Fox News by rebels at the border.
So we're here inside the hospital that was controlled by the terrorists, Jaish al-Islam, on the day that the alleged chemical attack was supposed to have happened. The story that they're giving us is that on that day, they were in there, it was a normal day, and suddenly a bunch of people rushed into the room shouting, chemical attack, chemical attack. And the doctors didn't know who they were, they didn't know where they were from, and the strangers came in and started spraying water. And so the other people who were in the room started spraying water as well. After that, they started filming it, and then they left.
Despite unsuccessful attempts by the UN to enter the city of Douma to make a determination on the attack, according to Fox News, it appears Sharp is not the only American to enter the city.
We do know from rebel commanders across the border in Syria that Americans have visited them. They have taken urine and blood samples from survivors who escaped. So even though the UN and the OPCW might not have evidence, the American government now does.
Some accounts even allege it was actually the rebels in the area who deployed chemical weapons in hopes of receiving international assistance. But those on the ground talking to One America News are outright denying any chemical attack at all.
He haven't seen, he haven't smelled, and he haven't anyone hurt.
No one hurt.
Chemical.
لا ما صار لنا شيء وهي كل الجيران هون.
All of them, they didn't smell, they haven't seen anything.
Okay.
And only 500 meters. All this area, they didn't smell anything.
And this is very close to where it happened.
Yes, all this.
The rebel sources became apparent when Fox News reported that the people they're talking to are urging for more airstrikes from the U.S.
But there's a gratitude towards the U.S. for those strikes, but they're desperately hoping that more may be carried out.
The narrative being put out differs depending on who's saying it and where the information is coming from. But with time, the truth will come out as to what happened in Syria on April 7th. But much like what Fox News did at the Turkish border, Sharp makes his own determination, based on what he's seen in Douma, Syria.
I'm back in Damascus now, but after spending a full day walking through Douma and looking for any signs of a chemical attack, we turned up completely empty-handed. We interviewed dozens of people, and no one had seen or heard anything to suggest that there was a chemical attack. We spoke with officers, with military police, with the military themselves. We spoke with nurses in the hospital where the video was filmed. We spoke with a doctor. We spoke with the general surgeon. We went to ground zero where the attack allegedly happened, and there wasn't a single shred of evidence that we found that there was a chemical attack. Again, this doesn't mean there wasn't one, but it means that when we looked for evidence that was said to have been there, nothing turned up. This presents a difficulty in the narrative that is given between the Western media outlets and what we're actually seeing here on the ground.
We can use your help. Call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call today.